Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. You are watching the Weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. If you've ever decided that you're going to try an episode, this is the one to watch. If you're a regular viewer, this is the one to watch to the end because, oh my God, I've got so much comic book related news to talk about. This is going to be one of those rare good shows that I produce. We're going to have a great time. Let's say hello to some of the folks that are already here in chat. Already getting some support. Thank you for the support there, Steve. Lovely to see you. Hello to Tavia and Bat and Jackie F. We've got the Beowulf. There's my sister. Oh, hi. You caught me speaking with a sibling. By the way, Gene, my cats really love that wheel that you got them. So thank you very much. It's going to go fast this week. Let's see. We're going to get cats this week. I don't know. They're having a lot of fun upstairs with this wheel that they finally started figuring out that they run in that. But lovely to see all of you amazing folks here at the beginning. This is going to be a good one. We have a bunch of news to talk about. We also have some pretty important comics to mention. Let's see. Red Room has returned. There's a new team for the Avengers. We'll see how good that is. Fantastic Four hits its basically 700th issue. We've got No One, World's Finest, Dark Ride, Giant Kokju, She-Hulk, all sorts of interesting books to talk about. We're going to save that till the end. Another thing I'm going to save towards the end is we are going to talk about a news story where Marvel has basically already publicly given away a big twist to Amazing Spider-Man that they've been building up to. I'm going to talk about it in sort of two parts. One non-spoilery, one talking about what they've actually put out there. So I don't even know if that counts as spoilers, but I'm going to save that for the last piece of news right before we do these reviews, just in case people want to skip it. So, it's pretty bonkers, though, the story itself, the story of Marvel, like trying to keep this under wraps and then just blurting it out. So without any further ado, let's pull up the news of the week here. And we are going to have a good time. Yeah, there's my clickbaity thumbnail. Death of Redacted. Thank you very much, Christopher DeRose. Nice name, by the way. Appreciate the support. That's really, really awesome. Moving to the first piece of news I wanted to talk about. We've mentioned before that Robert Kirkman has a new book coming out, Void Rivals, along with our artist De Felici. They did the book. Hold on. I'm so bad at names. They did a book together. Great start to the show. Great start to the show. Very professional. I cannot remember right now off the top of my head. There is a cat walking by here that's distracting me as well. Anyway, reteaming of an artist and hold on. I've got to acknowledge this. Tintin video is great. Which are your fave albums? The down-to-earth realistic ones or the far-out wacky ones like Flight 741 to Sydney? Probably a mix. Who do we got here today? Who's here? This is Lily. No, wait. Is it Lily? Yeah, this is Lily. Hi, Lily. You guys got a kitty. Who knew? Bye. I guess that was it. She just came to aggravate my shoulder and left. No, it wasn't Outcast. It was it was more recent than that. It was a sci-fi story where a dad was going into this other dimension to try to rescue people who had been transported away from Pennsylvania. Oblivion Song. Thank you, Steve. I was just blanking on the name. Oblivion Song. It's the creative team from Oblivion Song coming back together. So this news came out this week. The previous week, Skybound, Kirkman's imprint at Image, hosted a conference call for stores, retailers, to promote Void Rivals. And they told them something or other about where it's going and then asked them not to spoil it. And everybody's been good about that. There was on Twitter and other social media, a bunch of these stores just saying really positive and excited things. Like they were all going like, you won't believe what's coming with this Void Rivals. I'm not going to spoil it, blah, blah, blah. All of it like very, very similar. Right after the call happened, Kirkman himself said, he posted this to Twitter, very grateful to all the awesome comic shop retailers who joined our big Void Rivals call last Thursday. We revealed our super secret shared universe to them, and it was great to get a first look at what it's like when people learn the surprise. What do we know about Void Rivals? To try to figure out what this surprise is. It's described as the last remnants of two worlds that are collapsing around a black hole. It's a never-ending war. And two people from either side land on a planet, and that it's almost like the movie Enemy Mine from the 80s. They've got to work together to survive. I think there was also a good Star Trek The Next Generation episode like that, if I'm remembering right. Probably a bunch of Star Trek episodes like that, honestly. So what's the spoiler? Who knows? Who knows? There's one thing I wonder, though. It seems from what I've heard that Skybound got the Transformers license. These obviously aren't Transformers, but could it in any way be connected to that? Because we are talking about two remnants of worlds having a never-ending war. That is the Autobots versus Decepticons. Could that have spread to other alien races? I don't know. That's me being like pure speculation. But there's something big here. There's something big that people are, because go on Twitter to like any big comic shop and they're all saying really positive things that they're excited about this big twist. The only other thing I can think that could be also pretty big is maybe it connects back to his Invincible universe full of characters. That would be big, that would be big too. But I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Could it in any way be something like, say, Headmasters, launching like a stealth launch of Transformers? Like we get to know these characters and then we find out that it's part of something bigger. I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's possible. That's all I'm going to say is I feel like it's possible. Anyway, knowing Kirkman, there's going to be blood and gore. Yes and no. He has made some stuff that's all ages friendly, like Super Dinosaur. So, he can do that stuff too. Let's see. Shared universe and continuity mean a lot less to me these days than when I was a kid. I prefer singular stories without a bunch of baggage. But this could be a clean reboot. So, who knows? Yes, I love the Japanese Headmasters stuff. I don't think you need blood and gore in Transformers. I think that's what Michael Bay tried to give us with Optimus Prime shouting, "I'll kill you," and ripping people's heads off every movie. Yeah, Die, Die, Die is good. Anyway, I'm just wildly speculating. The only news we know is that there was a conference call and a bunch of retailers are really excited about Void Rivals for some reason. I tend to get Kirkman books no matter what. I mean, I consider him my friend and I'm curious what he does. I love certain things that he's done and I usually at least really like the rest. So I'm going to get this no matter what, but I do think that there's enough speculation behind it that it might make sense to pick it up. Yeah, I agree, EJ. I don't think Hasbro would allow a bloody, gory book either. Kirkman can do stuff that isn't bloody and gory. Hey, EJ did the book with Robert called Tech Jacket. I would not call that an especially violent book. I wouldn't. So anyway, yeah, everybody's mentioning all sorts of big stuff in news. Trust me, I got it here, folks. We're going to riff on it together. We're going to get each other's opinions. Don't worry. It's all in there. It's all in there. Everything that's being mentioned. Hey, Ryan, lovely to have you. Yeah, Super Dinosaur, I believe, had a conclusion, if I'm remembering right. Anyway, let's move on, since we don't really know anything about that. This one, I think, is fun and cool, and it was a big surprise. This happened today. Marvel, several hours ago, announced that they've got a new partnership with Hasbro, which is allowing them to create a ROM Space Knight omnibus. That means they're collecting the first 29 of the 75 issue run, plus a guest appearance he had in an issue of Power Man and Iron Fist that was never able to be collected in a Power Man and Iron Fist trade paperback because Marvel didn't have the rights to ROM at that time. ROM has never been reprinted. You can only find the original issues. They didn't have the license to ROM forever. IDW had the license to ROM for quite a while, but apparently Marvel has the rights to at least do this reprint. That's going to come out in January of 2024. They're also going to print a facsimile edition of the first issue in September. And it brings up a lot of questions in my mind to like how far this partnership might go. I will say, if you have not read ROM, it is a very fun book. Okay. 75 issues, all written by Bill Mantlo, almost every issue drawn by Sal Buscema, a few by Steve Ditko, by the way. So it's remarkably consistent. It's got one writer's vision, and it just moves. I would not call it deep, but Bill Mantlo always kept things moving. It's adventure, and it just moves at a good pace. Very, very cool. I like it. And it's always been, it's never been in so much demand that the back issues necessarily cost a fortune. But that's the only way you've been able to read it because they've never been able to reprint it. So this makes me wonder. The cool thing about ROM was that while it was based on a Hasbro toy, or a toy that Hasbro eventually got the rights to, it took place in the Marvel Universe. He met the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and so on. The X-Men. But like those appearances of ROM in other titles, or ROM's book with those Marvel heroes, even though that's part of Marvel continuity, Marvel's never been able to reprint those things. I do wonder, would Marvel be able to, say, reprint a Power Man and Iron Fist trade paperback right now with issue 75 of that book featuring ROM? Could they do that? Or is it just a reprint of the original omnibus? Marvel doesn't say. But it is really cool. And, I have to imagine that if it sells well, maybe there's a chance to bring this character back to Marvel Comics. ROM had some really cool stuff that it added to the Marvel Universe. One of the biggest was his enemies, the Dire Wraiths. They also created the idea of the Space Knights. So Marvel Comics can use Dire Wraiths and Space Knights. They just can't use ROM specifically. Who's basically, he's an alien, sort of like a human that's been turned into a powerful cyborg. It's good. It's really good. Yeah, I was just about to mention it. Andrew has it correct. That cover that you're looking at, that was drawn by Frank Miller. This was like something like 1979 when this issue came out. Frank Miller drew the cover, but it was Sal Buscema drawing the interiors. And I think Sal Buscema is very, very consistent. 70s and 80s with a good inker. Sal's incredible. So anyway, that came up today. I was pretty excited, and I'm very curious to see if it means anything else could be done with the character for news stories. I don't know. Moving on, I want to get past one piece of sad news that came out today. Actor Ray Stevenson has played two different Marvel characters, Punisher and Volstagg, in the Thor movies, and apparently he passed away on Sunday, only 58 years old. No cause of death announced, so there's really not a whole lot to report there. I think that he had the best Punisher costume out of like the four Punishers we've seen on screen. I think he did fine as Volstagg as well, but he obviously didn't get a lot of room to play with either of these characters. If you do want to see what he's capable of, my two recommendations are the HBO series Rome, which was only 2 seasons before it got canceled, but he was great in that. And more recently, the Indian movie RRR. He plays the villain in that. He's really good. It shows more of his range. So kind of sad. I consider 58 pretty young. But he gave us 2 different Marvel characters, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Yeah. And obviously everybody is just kind of sad, and I totally get it. Yep. Sorry to break on the bad news. He was a big, imposing guy, so he did really good playing some of these characters. He was the best looking Punisher. I agree. I think like they gave him the right suit, the right attitude. That is a Punisher Warzone is one dark R-rated movie, no question. Didn't know he was a Punisher. Punisher Warzone, in my opinion, the best overall sort of like story as far as like film representations of Punisher. You know, there've been 3 movies plus the various TV shows. I think that the guy playing it in, you know, Daredevil and the Netflix shows I think he's been given more to do, and you know, that's a great take on Punisher, but Punisher Warzone's not too bad. Shoulder hurts a lot. Yeah, I might talk about it later, but it's it hurts a lot. Thanks for asking though. I really appreciate it. You guys always care about me. You're so nice. Love him in Rome, my favorite Punisher movie. I mean, if you've seen Punisher Warzone, the thing I think everybody thinks of first is the guys that do, what do you call it, like the street running stuff from France. Parkour. There's a parkour guy, and Punisher just shoots him out of the sky with a rocket launcher. It's very good. So far there's nothing that they're willing to prescribe me, so not really. Yeah. Yes, I need an exosuit. That's exactly right. Well, thanks for dropping in, Aaron. That's nice of you. Let's move on to some more fun news. This one was just a bonkers story that popped up this week, more on social media than any real news. Gold Key. Gold Key used to be a publisher back in the day. They did a lot of licensed comics, and they published some horror titles. Somebody bought the rights to the Gold Key brand and is bringing Gold Key Comics back. I think it's like 4 guys that got the rights to it. And they announced they had a Kickstarter for their first book, which is an anthology horror title called Boris Karloff Horror Stories. Well, a comic creator, Zach Chapman, who I believe sent into this very channel his book House of Blood, and I remember saying good things about it. He tweeted the Gold Key submission guidelines this week, which were kind of hilarious. First it says they respect creators and their work, but then the very next thing they ask for is, in order to pitch, have at least 6 issues, around 200 comic pages completed. I have never heard of anything close to that for submission guidelines. I might hear, you know, like 5 pages, or maybe they want a first issue done before they solicit it, but they'll accept it sooner. 6 issues they want to have done, and like have the full creative team in place, but then be open to edits from Gold Key, which is fine to ask for edits. But if you've already drawn 200 pages and you make an edit to page 12, that might mean you have to redraw like 50 more pages for all I know. It's a pretty bonkers list. Yes, Aaron, exactly. If you have that many pages at this point, why not just crowdfund it, right? It's just too many pages up front. It's too many pages up front. That said, Gold Key did respond, okay? This is what Gold Key said. They went, you're absolutely correct. We wrote that copy over a year ago. We now have 3 legacy titles and 3 originals we're working on, and none were anywhere near 6 issues completed. We're learning. The form copy is being edited, and we appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Which I get, and that's good. And I went to their website after I saw this news. It looks like they've taken down the page that had their submission guidelines. So they've corrected it as much as they can so far. But yeah, just can you that's just asking for so many pages. And also to just have this excuse of like, we wrote that a year ago. You're saying that in a year you didn't figure out how to update this? I don't know. Just sounds like still a long time to figure it out, even if you're new to comics. A year, but they're working on it now. We will gladly work with you after you've done most of the work. Look, sometimes it's nice to have a publisher put your book out because they can help you with things like promotion and distribution. That makes all the sense in the world. But asking for 200 pages is a lot. A lot. Oh, yeah. The Gold Key Star Trek comics. I believe I did it. Yeah, I think I did a review of one of those, didn't I? I'm trying to remember. It might have been DC Comics Star Trek now that I think of it. It's hard to remember. The original Gold Key Star Trek comics were coming out at the same time as the show. But initially, they didn't have that much reference material or really know like the tone. So like people's like people can be colored wrong or called the wrong names. It was pretty crazy. Let's see. Are the people bringing back Gold Key the same people trying to make an Atlas Comics cinematic universe a thing? I don't think so, but I like your Hugo Pratt avatar. Oh yeah, Gold Key definitely used to have a lot. Some publishers do demand graphic novels to be finished before submitting. No question, if that's what you're specifically doing. But if you're doing like a limited series or an ongoing series, a lot of times, it might be enough for them to approve you if you just have something like 5 or 6 consecutive great pages and an outline of where it's going. And then, they might ask you to finish like 1 or 2 issues before they start soliciting it. Something like that is a little more common. This excited me. I'm a guy that grew up with the original Ninja Turtles comics, so I love the Ninja Turtles, and I love the Eastman and Laird version specifically. Now, Peter Laird is essentially retired. He sold the rights to Ninja Turtles to Viacom/Nickelodeon quite a long time ago at this point. Kevin Eastman has stayed involved working with IDW. But Laird is coming back. Issue 4 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Usagi Yojimbo Where When limited series, which is, just to be clear, written and drawn inside by Steve Sakai, the Usagi Yojimbo creator, announced that there's going to be a cover drawn by Kevin Eastman and inked by Peter Laird. And as if that wasn't enough, another Mirage Comics alum is involved. Steve Levine is doing the coloring. You can see it right there. I hope I can get this. It just does my heart so good to see Eastman and Laird sort of like rekindling their friendship in more recent days. They did several episodes on Cartoonist Kayfabe together, where them and the boys went over the original Ninja Turtles issues. Just great seeing them come back together. Like they were best of friends that created something amazing and worked together for a really long time before, life just sort of put them on different paths. And it's beautiful to see them coming back together. I don't know. I love them. And I also love Stan Sakai. I've made an episode about Usagi Yojimbo. I probably need to do more episodes about Ninja Turtles because trust me, I love Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Look at this. Jim Mahfood saying, I got to spend time with Kevin in Italy last week. What a good dude. Still super passionate about comics. Yeah, I've met Mr. Eastman as well. Lovely gentleman. And Jim is being a little modest there, saying that he came back from Italy. It's like, yes, that's impressive enough. But he was there because he was a guest at the Lake Como Comics Festival with guys like Eric Canet and Peach Momoko, all sorts of amazing top tier creators. So I hope that was awesome. Why am I even saying I hope it was awesome, Jim? Of course it was awesome. I saw your photos on Instagram and stuff. Lake Como has shot up to a place that I would really like to visit now. I've been to Italy, but I have not been to Lake Como. It looks gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Yeah. Yes, please. Give me some authentic pizzas and prosciutto and yeah. No, Julie Strain passed away. Kale asks, Jim, did you get to check out that comics museum? It was too last minute for me to go with who I had planned to. Ooh. It was awesome. I don't know why I left. Well, you've got responsibilities, sir. Like painting gorgeous models and putting out cool comics. Yes, love Hugo Pratt. I'll definitely do an episode on him at some point. I've got a Corto Maltese calendar from Italy up on my wall. So yeah. Anyway. And a bunch of nice people saying nice things to Jim Mahfood. That makes sense. That makes sense. He's a wonderful guy. But I'm so excited to see this, folks. I don't know. There's something very special to me about this partnership. You know, I have to imagine, I'm trying to think, like, what other partnerships are this important in comics? There are a few, like long-term partnerships where people create a lot of different stuff together. I think you'd have to definitely put Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in that conversation, no matter how you feel about Mr. Lee. They created a lot of memorable stuff together. I would put in more recent years Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I think that they're an incredible and consistent duo. But yeah, I definitely think Eastman and Laird created something really special together there. Oh yeah, it would be fun to see more Jim Lawson. That would be very nice. Bendis and Bagley, Siegel and Schuster, yeah, Barron and Rude, maybe. The best creative team, maybe. This book looks interesting to me. The oddly pedestrian life of Christopher Chaos. It's an upcoming book from Dark Horse. It's coming out next month, June 28th. Look, it's got great credentials behind it. It's written by James Tynion and Tate Bromball, the guys that do House of Slaughter. Tynion is on everything horror related. But this was originally solicited as a miniseries, and this week, Dark Horse actually has the confidence in it. They announced that it will be an ongoing title. That surprised me. By the way, interior art by Isaac Goodhart, definitely a good friend of the show. Isaac has done a lot of great comics. I think he did Postal at Image. He won the Top Cow Talent Search, I think. It's hard to remember because that was a little while back. He did last year a book, or maybe it was the year before, called Victor and Nora. It was about the romance of Mr. Freeze and his wife. And I was drawn into the background as one of the scientists working with Mr. Freeze. So thank you again, Isaac, for that. That was a nice little surprise. Here's the description of this book in case you haven't heard about it, which I don't blame you. It hasn't come out yet. It's Dark Horse. It's as compared to Marvel yelling everything from the rooftops. Meet teenage mad scientist Christopher Chaos. For all of his life, he knew he was different. His brilliant mind works in ways that defy logic and enable him to do things that push him beyond his peers. Unfortunately, these abilities have also caused great pain in his personal life, leading others to fear him and leaving Christopher with profound loneliness and guilt. Then one day, something cracked. When the cute boy at school turns out to be a deadly creature, Christopher finds himself pitted in a world of monsters, heroes, and a cult of hunters out to kill them all. So, a mix of sci-fi and supernatural, it sounds like. All I know is I like Tynion, Bromball, and Goodhart quite a bit, so I'm going to be checking this out. And it's been, obviously, Dark Horse has quite a bit of faith in it if they've bumped it up to an ongoing book. Those are a bunch of lovely things to think about. Let's see. Name your kid Chris Chaos. He's only going to have so many career options. Fair. Was it you or Paste Pot Pete in the background? I'll never tell. I'll never tell. Yes, snuck Paste Pot Pete in as a scientist. Anyway, I just thought that was cute. That was nice of Isaac to do something fun like that. You know, it's flattering. I like that. Who wouldn't? What does this look like when I do this one? That's interesting. It's not bigger. Okay. Just looking at that. I recommend checking that one out. It's past final order cutoff, though. So if you're going to get a copy, just talk to your store and see if they'll reserve one for you. But they've already placed their orders. Here's some news that we can use. Archie Comics has introduced their first prominent trans character. So last year, Archie re-envisioned their character Lil Jinx in as like a teenager, a babysitter, put her in a horror comic. And that included a supporting character, Danny Malloy. Danny Malloy used to be a character in the 80s in Dilton's Strange Science. She was friends with Dilton Doily. Well, there's going to be a new Strange Science one-shot coming out, and it reimagines Danny. She's now trans. She's a trans woman. Is written by a trans creator, Magdalene Visaggio. So, yeah, Archie is definitely moving forward with progressive ideas. I think that, people need representation like that. I'm all for it. I support that 1,000%. Just to be clear. People can cry that all they want, but I don't think that there have been that many Danny Malloy fans that are going to be upset. Danny hasn't been used in a long time. And, this is like an alternate take anyway. This is Archie's horror line. I've argued before that I think Archie does a pretty good job with their horror line. Sabrina, Lil Jinx, Jughead as a werewolf, vampire. Who was it? Veronica. Yeah, all sorts of great stuff. Correct. Yes, Visaggio wrote the Eternity Girls series for DC's Young Animal line. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just to be clear, there are some articles on like places like Fox News that are saying like, Archie is changing a classic character. That's what they call it, a classic character. I'm like, well, it's classic in the sense that, it came from something like 1989. So I guess that's a while ago. But there are a lot of Archie characters out there, and a lot of them don't get reused all that much. Danny Malloy was not a super prominent character. And by the way, once I read this, I went back and read some of these Dilton's Strange Science just to get a handle on who she was. Guess what? She was a tomboy for the most part, like that little bit anyway. She was pretty, but she was like a tomboy. People would always go like, Danny, oh, hey, you're not a boy, you're a girl. There was lots of confusion like that just over the name. So it sort of does make sense to choose this character out of all of them. These colors don't run. Good. Are those real characters, Cricket Odell or Fang? I definitely don't remember those. If those are real. I definitely don't remember those. What else do we have this week? We've got a lot of news, so I got to keep moving. See this? This is a huge truck accident. This truck that you can't see very well here, this sort of like white one that's all crumpled up and has all these boxes falling out of it. That was a truck for Diamond Distribution full of Deadpool comics and such. And then this guy in this semi collided with it. So, tons of comics just spilled out over the highway and were ruined. This was a truck going to their Plattsburgh, New York sort of distribution hub. And it was primarily Marvel and IDW books. I guess if you're anywhere in that New York area, you can expect a delay this week. The books that were supposed to be in store in 2 days on the 24th, probably going to be delayed because they're going to have to go back and get more. Because huge car accident. And this was the letter that Diamond issued to people to explain it. They said, Dear Diamond customer, due to a serious truck accident, yeah, I'll say, that thing looked like a disaster. The shipment of Marvel Comics and IDW Publishing product with an in-store date of May 24th that was en route to Diamond's Plattsburgh distribution center was damaged or destroyed. While our immediate thoughts are with the drivers involved in the accident, all parties are also working to resolve the situation. I guess that just means have insurance deal with it. More information will be provided as it becomes available. While some product may ship from reserves backstock, some will need to be sent from the printer for a delayed release. Diamond regrets any inconvenience this situation creates for you and your customers. If you have additional questions, contact them, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. No, it was definitely not Dr. Schubel asks if the accident was in Baton Rouge, but no, it was definitely in the New York area. And I'll just scroll back to this was like on their local Fox News in that Plattsburgh area had that photo of the accident, which, yeah, it's there on the highway. It looks pretty bad. I think what happened is it was stop and go probably, and the Diamond truck got rear-ended really bad. That's what it looks like to me from this, because I don't, yeah. I think that they just got rear-ended so bad that like all the stuff poured out across the street. But hey, if you live there, maybe you can like run around and find some Deadpool comics flapping in the breeze. Whoops, where'd my image go? Did I just let's see. Jacking, no. Will it affect distribution nationwide? No, definitely not. Just in that New York area. New York, maybe Philadelphia. I don't know. I don't know how far it goes. Almost took a job in Plattsburgh. I have no idea where Plattsburgh is now that I think of it. Yeah, I hate to see comics get ruined too, but I'm more hopeful that the drivers are okay. Oh, it's all the way up there in Syracuse? That's pretty far north. I didn't realize. So are we talking more like a hub for places like Buffalo and stuff? I don't know. Definitely no Marvels at NEC. Marvels at NEC. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Farther north. Okay. Guess I got to test myself on my memorization of the United States map a bit more. We've talked a little bit lately about Distillery. That's a new publisher that's going to publish physical comics, but also some digital versions of them. And I think that they were the ones that like created like, you know, like it's not like an NFT, but like they'll only create so many copies digitally so that people can like buy, sell, and trade them. It was a little weird there, but the bottom line is they are still doing print editions. And they've got a new alliance this week. Distillery inked a distribution deal with Lunar. Lunar's another distributor like Diamond. They are going to publish single issue comics as oversized premium quality print editions, and then they've also signed a non-exclusive distribution deal with Diamond, as well as an exclusive contract with Diamond book distributors for like any actual books that they put out. And the first book that Distillery is releasing is called The Devil's Cut. Obviously, we're going with a whole whiskey theme for the whole company, a distillery, the Devil's Cut. The Devil's Cut, if you don't know, is the part of whiskey that gets absorbed into the wooden barrel. So you don't get that back. They call that the Devil's Cut, like the devil took his piece. That's the price you pay to age it in wood. They are not NFT comics. They are digital rights managed, but they are not NFTs. They're not like traded on the blockchain or anything like that, I don't think. I come to this channel for accurate geography. I mean, I could try to list all 196 countries in the world, but that would probably be some pretty boring uh podcast show making, but I think I could do it. I think I could list all 196 countries in the world. Tell you what, if anybody wants to pay me $196, I'll list every country in the world. Anyway, the Angels share? I've never heard that. I've never heard that one. But anyway, so you can expect that book actually in bookstores as long as your comic store orders uses Lunar, which they probably do. There was a survey recently in Japan that revealed that almost all Japanese artists are afraid of what AI's impact on their livelihoods could be. And for an image, I used this Cyberpunk Peach John, which is the first AI manga created. It's created by someone anonymously, or he works under a pseudonym, he or she or they. But a lot of people did say that it seems to use the style of what was the popular manga? It said it took the style from, I want to say, Jujutsu Kaisen. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, it was a Arts Workers Japan Association. They surveyed 25,000 artists, and about 94% of them said that they are concerned that AI could have harmful effects such as rights infringement. So Japanese officials have said that they plan to implement protections for artists' rights, but Japanese politics move slowly, so we'll see exactly what happens there. I'm not sure. I feel like I missed something. Sorry. This is why I hate AI and support real artists. Well, that's great. That's great. Can't wait for mangas with weird looking dogs, too many figures, and impossible background angles. Yeah, you can't figure everything out right now. Is AI stealing an art style plagiarism? It's worse than plagiarism. It would be literal copyright infringement if it had been trained on somebody's art style without their consent. Then you are stealing from them if you can prove it. What was up with the cat in your Tintin video? My cats sometimes meow and I don't always catch it. So they were in the background and a meow got by me when I was recording. So I decided I'd acknowledge it and just go full force by showing an image of my cat when it meowed. Is it really? That this is interesting. DeviantArt is full of AI. I've never really jumped around in DeviantArt, so I didn't know that. I feel like the manga industry has zero protection for artists, so they know they are at risk if disruption happens. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. It seems to be doing all right. I was really proud of my Tintin video, so thank you. Thank you. I put a lot of hard work into that one. I'm kidding. I just basically told an AI program to write the entire script, jokes and all. Nailed it. No. Meow acknowledgement is now a requirement. I try to re-record when I hear my cats let out a meow. They don't know that I'm recording. They just sometimes they're louder than most cats. They like to meow, but one got by me. DeviantArt is a wasteland of AI. Every page probably has 4 AI images or more, and that's after filtering all of the AI tags. No kidding. So a lot of people are using it, huh? A lot. Wow. Huh. A mandatory kitty? No, I can't do that. I can't do that. They're hard to wrangle. Oh, I'm glad you liked my silly little intro. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, no one. Yeah, my robot works for tin cans. Some people got a little pedantic there, telling me sodas are no longer made in tin cans; they're made in aluminum, or if you're in England, aluminium. I said, "Who cares? I think you got the joke. Who cares?" It was an impulsive little idea. Let's have some fun. The co-creator of War Machine, among other things, is in a bad place. A guy named Len Kaminsky, a comic book writer, wrote hundreds of issues for Marvel, Iron Man, Web of Spider-Man, bunch of fill-in issues for just about every character. He was on Iron Man for quite a while with artist Kevin Hopgood. He created the War Machine armor, all sorts of different armors. I mean, but War Machine is one that's stuck around, you know. So he's in a bad place, and one of his friends has launched a GoFundMe and gotten some quotes from him. And I wanted to talk about it a little because it made me sad. He said, "I was in an accident last year that put me in a wheelchair and left me trapped in a crooked care center. That was 8 months ago. In that time, they've used my insurance coverage, then proceeded to drain my bank account and divert my monthly disability payments into their account. I lost all my money, my income, my apartment, everything." I don't know exactly how all this happened, but you know, we do hear about some of these care centers are pretty loosely run, to put it nicely. We've heard that they can like bilk people that don't sort of have family looking out for them, and I think that that's what's happening, unfortunately, with Len. So basically, he's trying to get together enough money to sort of buy his way out of this care facility, get an apartment, and you know, get his own doctor. Uh, they don't really want to like let him get out. It's a scary, sad situation. I'm hoping I shared it on Twitter, and I don't know if any of these organizations could make it right, but there is the Hero Initiative. I would hope that they might be able to do something for Len. He's certainly proven his bona fides, and that's sort of what they're set up to do, is help people that are in like troubled financial situations like this. And then what else? I mean, maybe Marvel could at least step in and just sort of be like, look, here's like a one-time extra payment because Armor Wars is coming out or something. You have to sometimes Marvel does weird stuff like that. You know, yes, they're a company and stuff, but there is sort of a certain amount of goodwill they get out of their readers and their employees when they like step up and give like an extra payment. They did it for Bill Mantlo once or twice. So I don't know. I don't know. Yes, he's getting close to the GoFundMe goal. Uh, if you ever read any of his comics, it might, you know, maybe you could give $5. I'm sorry that this is the world we live in, where we all seem to have to every once in a while give each other 5, $10 for help and things. You know, it's not the way it should be. There should be like some safety nets, but we live in the world we live in, and sometimes we can help each other like this. I mean, that'd be nice, but I don't think Don Cheadle like specifically. Yes, he's playing a character that was like co-created in some part by Len Kaminsky, but it's not his responsibility. I would say that like it would be nice if Marvel did it, even if they don't have a legal obligation to. It would be nice of them to take note and go, "Oh, this is a guy that helped us. Let's give him a little bit of help." Eh, I don't know what kind of situation or how the Hero Initiative works, but hopefully something like that could help them too. So it can't hurt to sort of put this out there in the world, spread some acknowledge some awareness, and who knows, maybe two or three of you guys, if you were thinking of doing a super chat tonight, I'd say go ahead and, you know, instead donate that $5 or $10 to Len. That's really kind of you, Ryan. I do sincerely appreciate that. I mean, there's no question that, like, in large part these days, I'm supported by you guys, by getting like ad revenue from YouTube, super chats, things like that. I'm pretty sure Peter David got out of his current debt, but he's got a habit of falling into it more than once. So we'll see what happens. This time it was due to health concerns. We'll see. Almost all comic creators are treated as contractors. There have been experiments with them as employees. Cross-gen comics treated them all as employees, but mainly they're contractors. Yeah, good question. Let's go on and see if we can find something a little fun. Here's just some quick Marvel Cinematic Universe news. Marvel announced that Loki Season 2 is going to launch on October 6th. That will be released weekly. And I mentioned weekly because they also announced that Echo will come out. But when those come out on October 29th, they're releasing all of them at once. What's interesting to me is that like both of those are coming out towards the very end of the year. Whereas originally Marvel had announced that they were going to put out both of those shows as well as Agatha, Coven of Chaos, and Ironheart all this year. And they were like aiming for like 4 Marvel movies a year. That was under Disney CEO Bob Chapek, who not too many months ago got removed by the board of directors. They didn't like the way he was running things. And they put Bob Iger back in charge. And Iger is slowing the MCU output down, which I think you got it to maintain any level of quality control. Yeah. So it's slowing down. But speaking of Agatha, Coven of Chaos, the rumor is that the enemies for Agatha would be the Salem 7. And if you don't know them, they're all grandchildren of Agatha in the comics, and they all have supernatural powers. Yes, Disney swapped Bob's, probably for the better. The Salem 7, hold on. They were the villains in one of the first FF comics I ever rated. It'd be awesome to see them in live action. Yeah, they're the children of Nicholas Scratch, and Nicholas Scratch is the son of Agatha Harkness. No, they have not officially let go Kang the Conqueror's actor yet. Since they don't really have, a big Kang or Avengers movie coming for quite a while, I think that they can afford to take it slowly and let this case play out so that they can see if they should let him go or if it is a mistake. Because they don't necessarily need to let him go super early, Jonathan Majors, no, they could still recast somebody during the writer's strike. They're just not going to be actively moving forward with writing anything new or anything like that. But everything is kind of on pause, so you're not wrong about that. Yeah, Jonathan Majors, man, I don't know that I trust anything coming out of his mouth. It seems pretty damning that he's been like an abusive person, but we don't have any facts yet. So until there are actual facts, it probably would be premature for Marvel to release a statement. That said, if you go to like the Netflix description of Ant-Man, not Netflix, Disney Plus description of Ant-Man 3, they don't mention Kang at all. They just mention that Ant-Man and the Wasp are in this strange new land. They don't mention Kang at all. All the press for Loki season 2 isn't mentioning Jonathan Majors. So, they're definitely like keeping it quiet until they know anything. Yeah, she said she was lying, but like her statement seemed weird. Like Majors' lawyers released the texts, and his girlfriend was like, I can't remember the exact thing. I don't want to paraphrase, but it didn't look good. It didn't look good. The text messages that they released were meant to like clear his name, but instead I felt like that they made him look like a pretty bad person. But who knows? Who knows? I try not to get too into the Hollywood gossip, just talking about firm details on certain adaptations. This is going to take a while. Let's talk about some of the Eisner nominees. Because the Eisners are kind of the, more or less, they're at least one of the premier awards in comics. It's nice to be nominated. I, of course, was nominated back in 2011, but not this year. I didn't put every single category in here, but I put some of the big ones just so that we could sort of like riff on this and talk. So we've got a few different things here. Best short story. We've got The Beekeeper's Due by Jimmy Stamp and Deborah Santos from Scott Snyder Presents Tales from the Cloakroom. We've got Finding Batman by Kevin Conroy and Jay Bone. Good Morning by Christopher Cantwell and Alex Lins. Silent All These Years by Margaret Atwood and David Mack. And You Get It by Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto. Wow, that is a murderer's row of talent there. That is amazing. I have to say, I probably have to give the nod to Finding Batman, A, because it is a great story, and B, because you're not going to get another opportunity to nominate Kevin Conroy. And it would kind of be nice to give a guy that, was so connected to Batman, give him that due. I think that's nice. Like, these are all worthy. If any of these won, I'd totally be okay with it. But I do think Finding Batman was a great story, and it would just sort of be nice to give Kevin Conroy. Yes. Yep. He wrote for the DC Pride anthology that came out this year before he passed away. And Margaret Atwood wrote, what's that popular show? I haven't watched it. She wrote that sort of post-apocalyptic show. She wrote a story in this about Tori Amos. Yeah, the Eisners are having some controversy. I will get to that, Beowulf. First, let's just sort of bang through some of these categories. Anyway, so my vote there would be for Kevin Conroy. Best single issue one-shot, we've got Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler, Tom King and Mitch Gerads. Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond by Jed McKay and C.F. Villa. Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood, number 3, edited by Tom Brevoort. That's an anthology one. And Star Trek 400, edited by Heather Antos. That's an interesting one to find. Like, I've been hearing a lot of good things about IDW's Star Trek books, of all things. And A Vicious Circle, book 1 by Mattson Tomlin and Lee Bermejo. I haven't read these two, but I would probably give it to Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler. I think that's a pretty good one. Best continuing series, we've got Daredevil by Zdarsky and Cicchetto. We've got Department of Truth by Tynan and Martin Simmons. Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander. Nice House on the Lake by James Tynan and Alvaro Martinez Bueno. And let's see, Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. And She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell, Roger Antonio, Luca Maresca, and Takeshi Miyazawa. That's a tough one. Yes, I was thinking of Handmaid's Tale. Thank you. I'm just bad at names, folks. That's why I need your help. MJ and Black Cat is really fun. Okay. I personally wasn't a big fan of the Tom King Riddler. Love the team's work otherwise. Okay. I apparently have to reread my copy of Moon Knight, Black, White, and Red, number 3. Well, that's my vote, but just curious what people think. Let's see. Continuing series is brutal this year. Every one of these could win. Did I say who I would choose? I might have to give it to Nightwing. I just think Bruno Redondo especially is doing some really innovative storytelling with that book. He is doing all sorts of things to keep himself interested, and it's just elevating that title to another level beyond just a superhero book. So I might give it to that, which feels a little weird sometimes, but I think I'd give it to that. I love the She-Hulk book, for the record. Yeah, I'm glad to see other people do too. I really do. I would have said She-Hulk. That's great to see so many people like it. The only thing about She-Hulk is just that they've sort of, we're only how many issues in? 13 issues, and we've had like 3 different artists. So there's a little more consistency to what Nightwing is doing, in my opinion, which is always the right one. I'm just kidding. Let's see some other categories. Best limited series. That's always a tough one. Animal Castle by Xavier Dorison, Felix Delep. Batman One Bad Day. The Human Target. That's Tom King and Greg Smallwood. Miracle Man by Gaiman and Buckingham. Superman Space Age. Mark Russell and Mike and Laura Allred. That is one of the most competitive that I've seen so far. Look, I thought about this one already because I knew it was going to be in the news. At first, I really thought I was going to give it to Miracle Man, but damn it, I got to give it to The Human Target. It really told an amazing mystery and love story. The visuals by Smallwood were some of his best. I'm giving it to Human Target. That would be my vote. But I did love Superman Space Age. I absolutely love Miracle Man. Batman One Bad Day I have a lot of respect for. I have to admit, I don't know a lot about Animal Castle, though. So maybe I'm not the best voter. Okay. Good. Another Space Age. Human Target. Yeah, Nightwing has had fill-ins, but it isn't switching up too much. Superman Space Age pretty much has to win at this point, right? The All Reds are absolutely crushing it. I don't know. I give it to Human Target. Okay, so does Dr. Shubo. Next one. Best new series. New series. We've got, sorry, I got to move this a little so I can see it. The Atonement Bell by Jim Owsley and Tyler Ruff. Love Everlasting by Tom King and Elsa Charretier. Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky. Does both the writing and art. And Star Trek by Kelly Lansing and Rosanis. I say Public Domain. I'm curious to hear if people have different opinions. Oh, also Traveling to Mars. Sorry. Mark Russell again. Good for him getting another nomination there. 2 in a row there for those keeping track. Public Domain is really, really cool. It's about this family whose father was like an artist and he gets back the rights to make a comic book that he co-created that a huge company like Marvel basically is making movies and stuff on, but like he gets the rights back. And so him and his family are going to like launch a new version of it. Like, and it's all about the creation of comics. Public Domain, Public Domain, Public Domain. Yeah, I think I have voted before. Yeah. I didn't yet this year. I got my copy of Public Domain signed by the whole creative team, even the color and letter. That's beautiful. That's really, really cool. Public Domain is kind of interesting. It's a sort of a story about comic creators. It is. And the funny thing is only the father that has like the rights to it is, the comic creator. And then like the other people all have skills that you realize can translate to making comics, whether that's, writing talent, inking talent, public relations and business acumen. Public Domain's pretty cool. Public Domain, yeah, it hits you in the feels. The characters are interesting. Yeah, it's like Bakuman, but it's definitely more dramatic and a little less funny. Yeah, definitely read it. There's a reason it got nominated. What else do we have? We have Best Humor Publication. This is tough. Humor is so subjective. How, I don't know. Cryptid Club by Sarah Anderson. I Hate This Place by Kyle Starks and Artyom Topilin. Killer Queens by Boer and Balboni. Mr. Lovenstein Presents Failure by Westover. Revenge of the Librarians by Tom Gauld. I haven't read all of these. I do read I Hate This Place, so I probably would vote for that, but I'd want to read the others if I was going to make an informed vote on that. Okay. Traveling to Mars got some love, and good to see Star Trek get some love at IDW. I love the new ongoing series. I've heard nothing but good things regarding their Star Trek books. Best Anthology can be fun. We've got Creepshow by it's by Skybound. We've got the Illustrated Al Songs of Weird Al Yankovic that came out of Z2. The Nib magazine, edited by Matt Bors. He's pretty funny. Sensory Life on the Spectrum, edited by Bex Ollerton. Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes, the graphic album. That was another Z2 book. I don't really have a dog in this fight now that I think of it. Yeah, thanks, Michael. If you guys have a moment and you can just hit the like button, that really helps the show, helps me. we've got a vote for Weird Al. We've got a second vote for Weird Al. Creep Show. Yep. Creep Show is a little inconsistent, but I loved it all the same. I think that that's my opinion too. So I'm a little surprised it got nominated, but some of it's very, very good. It's going too fast. I only read Creep Show and it was good. Anything with Weird Al must be a winner. Matt Bores, but only because I used to live 3 houses away from him. Okay, that's one reason to vote. I hate this place, but I wouldn't call it humor. It's more horror, but I do find it funny. Creep Show is the only one you read. That's fair. The Nib just announced their final issue. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Let's see. Should we hit the like button or do we need to smash it? I am a proponent of simply tapping the like button. I have no interest in you guys breaking your hardware. That's because I'm really, really nice. Wanted to read Weird Al, but it sold out almost immediately. Sorry. Sorry. Bear with me, guys. Arm is really hurting. It's super stiff tonight. Really liked Illustrated Al. Cool. I'll have to ask my friend Mark Englert how he liked the Weird Al book. He had to have gotten it. He's a huge fan. Is this the last? There's more pages I have of some of the big categories. Best Writer. That's a huge one. Grace Ellis for Flung Out of Space. Tom King, Batman Killing Time, Batman One Bad Day, Gotham City Year One, Human Target, Love Everlasting, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Mark Russell for Traveling to Mars, One Star Squadron, Superman Space Age, The Inkle, Psychoverse. James Tynion, House of Slaughter, Something is Killing the Children, Wind, The Nice House on the Lake, The Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country, The Closet, The Department of Truth, Chip Zdarsky, Stillwater, and Daredevil. Yikes, that's a tough category. I think I personally would give it to Tom King for the Human Target and Supergirl being pretty exceptional. I thought that those were pretty exceptional. But any of these people definitely deserves it. Tynan on Raw Volume. I don't know how this guy puts out as much as he does. Mark Russell did give some excellent stories this year. Yes. Team Zdarsky. No disrespect there. They're all good options. The one thing that came out this week, I'll just put it in the middle. The eyes. I don't know whether they volunteered the information or somebody just looked it up, but all of the judges are white. That's not the most representative voting block. You know, I think that it would behoove the Eisners to get some more diversity in there so that they could champion books that are certainly high quality that might get overlooked unintentionally sometimes. But you know, like you've got like sort of one point of view, and it's nice to have several points of view. So that's not great. Yeah, Weird Al put out a it's an anthology type book. I hear it's good. I believe that is 4 nominations for him. Let's see. I hope your arm has a speedier recovery than anticipated. Oh my God, so do I. Must be the pits. Yeah. On a side note, the Hirohiko Araki art book I ordered came in. Congratulations. That must be very cool to take a look at that. His art style definitely is a weird one. Very, very weird. That's my understanding, Andrew, but I think that the judges also do choose certain select categories, like they vote in certain people into the Eisner Hall of Fame, and then fans can vote some of the rest of them in. Something like that. But yeah. Primarily, they're voting on the nominees. Did I? So, best comics related periodical, and guess what? I wasn't included. I guess why would I be, right? I've just been doing a show for 6 years or so, pretty much weekly, coming up with essays of all sorts of different kind of comics. No, it's okay. We've got Alter Ego, edited by Roy Thomas, Comic Book Creator, edited by John B. Cook. Those are both great publications. Get some great interviews. The Comics Journal number 308, edited by Gary Groth. Panel by Panel magazine. Sure. And Rob Salkowicz, who's written for Forbes, ICV2, and Publishers Weekly. I'd probably give it to Panel by Panel magazine this year. I think so. Yes, could you send Mr. Miyagi to just sort of rub his hands together, use his demon magic to heal my shoulder? That would be lovely. They should nominate YouTube series. I don't know. It would be cool. It would definitely be. I think that it's been a thing, comic book YouTube, for quite a while now. It's not like it's that new. It's probably not going away. And there's it doesn't have to be YouTube. You know, I'm sure that there's TikTokers that do comics, etc. But, you know, video essay channel, I think that does make sense as a category. I really do. Yep. He does all the work. Let's move on to the best writer-artist. Person that did both. Sarah Anderson for Cryptid Club. Kate Beaton, Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands. You guys know I talked that one up a hell of a lot. Espy, The Pass. Junji Ito, Black Paradox, and The Liminal Zone. And Zoe Thorogood for It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. So, while I would call Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands, one of the best books of the past year, if we're talking best writer-artist, I'm giving it to Zoe because she does some very inventive things in an incredibly personal story. I think that the book, It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, is damn impressive. It makes the creator incredibly vulnerable. She really opens up about her depression and her issues. And it features some innovative storytelling. So while I love Junji Ito, I absolutely adored Ducks 2 Years in the Sands and would definitely nominate it for best book. But I think Zoe Thorogood did some interesting stuff for how she works as both the writer and the artist. And it looks like Jim kind of agrees. So kind of got to go with Jim, right? There's already an award show for comic book channels, the CBC Awards. Oh, I think I heard about that last week. I got to look it up. It's pretty amazing. I got it out of the library, digital library. So I don't know how many of you guys have started using that since I've been talking it up, but it's a nice tool. Yes, I love his book about his cats. That's a good. No, I'm going to talk about that last. I don't want to sort of have any spoilers until towards the end. Have you ever been on another YouTube channel like Around Comics? I've never heard of Around Comics, but yeah, I've been on several other shows. Most of them are kind of small, so I can't remember them all, but as long as they seem like good people, I'm happy to come on and have a conversation about comics. That's always fun. I've been on Comic Pop with Sal a couple times. So yeah, I've gone on other shows. Nice. That's great. Yeah, that's what I got. It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth on. I got it on Hoopla. Last category on this page is Best Penciler Inker or Penciler Inker Team. We've got Jason Sean Alexander. Sure. Philadelphia, Nita Hawes Nightmare Blog. Alvaro Martinez Bueno for Nice House on the Lake. Sean Phillips for Follow Me Down, The Ghost in You. Bruno Redondo for Nightwing. Greg Smallwood, The Human Target. How dare you put all of these people that I love into one category? How dare you, Eisner Committee? God damn you. This is hard to do, but I would ultimately and somewhat grudgingly have to give it to Greg Smallwood. I think what he accomplished in The Human Target is absolutely beautiful. And if you really study the storytelling, it's amazing how subtle some of it is and how easy he makes it look, but I'm sure it wasn't. Bruno Redondo definitely did some great innovative stuff. Sean Phillips is just one of my favorites, period. These are all great artists. These are all great artists. But I think I gotta give it to Greg Smallwood for what he did in The Human Target. All right, so let's see what we've got. We've got Smallwood, Greggy Smalls, tough one, but Redondo, totally respect that. Let's see. I'm no Tom King fan. Oh, but Greg Smallwood did a great job on Human Target. He really did. Evie says Smallwood. We don't talk about Bruno. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, tough categories. Some of these. I believe this is the last page I have of this, and then we'll move on to sort of more news. Although I've got one piece of news related to the Eisners, just kind of juicy. You're here for that juice. You're here for that juice. Best Painter Multimedia Artist, Lee Bermejo for A Vicious Circle, Felix Delep for Animal Castle, Daria Schmidt for The Monstrous Dreams of Mr. Providence, Sana Takeda for The Night Eater, She Eats the Night and Monstrous, Zoe Thorogood for Rain, Thomas Woodruff for Francis Rothbart. We'll come back to that fellow, but I'm definitely not voting for him. Personally, I would actually do Sana Takeda. I think that her work is gorgeous. That's where yeah, Jorge Jimenez. That would be nice. I bet he gets nominated next year. And you know what? I'm not saying this just because he's in there, but when you're talking about not just painting, but also multimedia, there's two guys that I think are missing here. I really do. Bill Sienkiewicz. I think he did some great work this year, as he always does. And he's in the chat room, Jim Mahfood. I'm sorry. I think that they would have both deserved a painter or multimedia artist in there. Yeah, I could get behind Peach Momoko having a nomination too. I could get behind that. Best lettering. This is always tough, but I do have a favorite here. We've got Pat Brousseau. Some of these people do so many titles. Chris Dickey, Todd Klein, Nate Picos. These guys are all amazing. They're just fantastic. Stan Sakai. And again, Thomas Woodruff. First of all, I've looked at this book. That is not good lettering. Yeah, it was done by hand, which is, I guess, why it got nominated. But yeah, of course, buddy. I mean it. I do mean it. Yeah, Bill still does interior work, and it does. Even if he didn't, it's just. Oh yeah, it does say interior art. Excuse me. Yeah, he did like about 12 pages of a book that Dynamite put out that was written by Stan Lee this year. So yeah. Yes, I think that Stone Ghosts absolutely could have held its own against a bunch of these different categories. Alex Ross probably should have been nominated for what, but you know what? I don't think he painted Fantastic Four, whatever the subtitle was. He did that with colored pencils, so I don't know that counts as multimedia. I don't know. Anyway, best lettering. I'm going to give it to Stan Sakai. He's won it a bunch, but I'll tell you what I like about it. A, it's clear. B, it looks unique. And C, it fits with the art perfectly. Not to say that none of these other guys do a bad job. You know, Brousseau, Klein, Picos, they're all brilliant. We live in a time of some great letterers. I sincerely respect the hell out of lettering. I've done some of it. It's tough work to do well. But I love Stan Sakai's lettering, and he deserves it. Best coloring. This is getting tough these days. But we've got Jordi Belair, Jean-Francois Belot, Dave McCaig, Jacob Phillips. There's Alex Ross and Josh Johnson for Fantastic Four Full Circle. Interesting. Diana Souza. I'm going to give it to Jordi Belair. Does a lot of different styles depending on what fits that particular story. Miracle Man has a very classic comic book coloring, kind of closer to flat colors, closer to that. Whereas Nice House on the Lake, incredibly moody, like really strong choices for like one primary color to set a mood for certain scenes. There's a lot of great storytelling choices that I think Jordi Belair is doing for those books. So yeah. And then we've got Best Cover Artist, which is always kind of a fun one. This year they put in Jen Bartel for She-Hulk, Bruno Redondo for Nightwing, Alex Ross for things like Astro City and Fantastic Four and Black Panther, Sana Takeda for Monstrous, Zoe Thorogood for Rain. I would give it to Bruno Redondo. I don't consistently read Nightwing. I always see Nightwing on the newsstand when I'm browsing the racks. He does some really good eye-catching stuff. And at the end of the day, these are all good pieces of art, but what I'm looking for is not just good art, something that catches attention, I totally respect some of these other decisions. Jen Bartel does really fun stuff. I loved Alex Ross's Fantastic Four. I think it's some of his best work in like a decade. It's great. Yeah, a lot of different styles. I guess you just have to say, what are you voting for? Are you voting for just good art? Are you voting for like it to be eye-catching? Are you voting for it to have good composition? I don't know. All over the place. I just think he really puts a lot of thought into it. Dan Mora and Jorge Jimenez definitely could have been nominated in this. But a lot of nominations for Zoe Thorogood. A lot of DC Comics got nominated this year. It's interesting. Very interesting. So let's talk about the controversy. There have been calls for one of these Eisner nominees to have his nominations rescinded, which I don't honestly think is a great precedent to set, okay? I'm just going to say that up front. But if somebody deserves to have these calls, definitely seems like this Thomas Woodruff guy has a lot of people that don't like him. So, Thomas Woodruff was a teacher for like, I think over 20 years at the School of Visual Arts, okay? He was in, he was the chair of the illustration and cartooning departments. And oh my God, when he got nominated for this comic, did his past students come out of the woodwork? They do not like this man, to put it lightly. They do not like him. They started a petition here to rescind his Eisner nomination. These are just a couple of the things. Like this one from Kenny the Kid was like the first thing that opened it all up, okay? Said, wild to see my old college department chair who vocally and obviously despised comics, considered them low art, and made comics students' lives complete hell for decades, get Eisner nominated 4 times over for his first graphic novel, Oh Sorry. Apparently Thomas Woodruff calls this a graphic opera. And man, talk about like sort of showing that you don't want to be thought of as a comic book artist when you call your comic book a graphic opera. A graphic opera, whatever. Here's just one other person that said something, and there are tons online, tons. Ugh. Once I directly asked Thomas Woodruff why SVA didn't have a business class for the comics major. Illustration had a business class, animation had 2. Why not comics? He told me he didn't want the students to become too business savvy and lose their artistic soul. There's a person that put out a tweet today about him that sounds like it encapsulates who this guy is. Thomas Woodruff made a painting of Donald Trump out of his own fecal matter. Okay? That's what he did. Then he needed to scan it. He took it to the school's computer lab, used their scanner, and then didn't clean up after himself. And some of the people talking about it, several people on Twitter mentioned that they witnessed this happen, not just one person. And they were like, yeah, he didn't want to clean it, so that's why he took it to school, and that's why he didn't use his own computer at home. Disgusting. Disgusting. This guy has just, I guess he just looked down on comics, talked about, like, really made comic book uh, students feel bad about like what they were doing. Really was like rude to people. Somebody was like doing one story where they said they brought their portfolio in front of him to review for like an end of the semester thing. And the first thing he started criticizing was the hat that the person was wearing. So he's just not nice. Just to be clear, he is no longer with SVA. I believe he just stepped down during the pandemic. So yeah, like he can't really get fired or anything. Now, here's the thing. Yeah. I don't love the idea of a petition being successful to remove somebody that got nominated. Okay. Is it a mistake to nominate certain troublesome people? Yeah, it can be. But once it's done, I don't think it's a good look to take that away, because here's what will happen. If, suppose like some of these students were successful and they did get Thomas Woodruff's nominations rescinded, what will happen next year? There will be petitions left and right to remove people like, say, Magdalene Visaggio for creating Danny Malloy, right? That's what's going to happen, is all of a sudden you're going to see petitions to remove all sorts of creators that people don't like for whatever reason. So that's why I don't like the precedent. I don't think they should. I don't think they should send nominations now that comic opera sounds. Just call it a comic book. I get what they were going for when they came up with the term graphic novel, but even that, I'm just like, it's comics. All right, it's comics. But don't rescind an honor because of poop. Well, fair. At least the Eisners don't matter. They do and they don't. I would say it's nice to be nominated. It is. It means your peers respect you. That's nice. That's a good feeling. If you get an Eisner award, that's probably going to be a boost for your sales. Now, does it actually change anything fundamentally about who you are? No, you should not look for outside validation like that. That's not great. I don't know that it's necessarily even a productive thing to have awards ceremonies. I don't know. Like, it feels nice to win, but maybe it's not nice. I don't know. Yeah, comic opera, exactly. Makes me think of like Broadway musicals. I don't know. So, what if you want entertained? What I say is go on Twitter and look up Thomas Woodruff. Go for either latest or top. You are going to see some students with some horror stories about this guy. Look, I haven't seen any of this up front. I'm just reporting on what they said. But, yeah. Yeah. We've got more news, though. There's an artist. It seems like a really cool guy to me. He's called out the lack of Pacific Islander inclusion in this month, AAPI month. There's lots of Asian American stuff. There's not always that Pacific Islander thing. So Mikkel Mulipola, and I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering your name. Maybe it's Michael Mulipola. He's Samoan, and he lives in New Zealand right now. Really interesting guy. He's been an artist, worked on like Marvel Comics trading cards. He worked on like one of the Tekken games recently. He's been a cultural consultant for Disney. He's been a pro wrestler. Really interesting guy. And honestly, a good artist, I think, just looking at this. He posted to Instagram this, which is his revised versions of 3 Marvel Pacific Islander characters, because it is Asian American Pacific Islander month, and a lot of comics have extra backup stories featuring some of their Asian characters, a lot of Asian creators are working on these things. Not much in terms of Pacific Islander characters. Here's some of the things that Mulipola posted. He said, every May, I see my social media flooded with AAPI Heritage Month celebratory posts, and every year, without fail, I see zero representation of the PI part of AAPI. I think the term AAPI is outdated now and has outlived any usefulness it had in the past. I'd much rather the PI be removed and have our own celebrations rather than be included in the name but actively excluded. And he said, if Marvel wasn't going to showcase Pacific Islander characters and creators, I'll do it myself. So this is just like fan art that he did on a cover. Those are 3 Pacific Islander characters that he reworked. Okay. Let me pull up what he had to say about each of them, because I thought this was pretty interesting. Where is it? Okay. Kiwi Black here. Kiwi Black is a mutant who is related to Nightcrawler. For this, he said, I gave him a Meteora and even a Puhuro, along with a costume inspired by the Deadlands. So he gave him very specific tattoos in like the face and the legs, and gave him this outfit. In the comics, he wears a black trench coat. He's not that interesting. There's Mondo. That's an X-Men character. He said, I made him look more Samoan and gave him those luscious Troy Polamalu locks. I like that look. And finally, there's Loa. And she's Hawaiian. So he said, I wanted her to look more Kanaka Moali, and instead of random tattoo shapes like she has in the comics, I tried to give her Kakawa designs. And I'm probably mispronouncing these, but I love his ideas. And this is a good idea that if you're going to sort of create some of these characters, anyone should be able to create them, but sometimes it might be due for like a creative refresh. I think he's got some really good ideas there. Anyway, just something he did on his own, but I thought was worth sharing because, feel free to look up some of these characters, and none of them look that unique. Let's lean into the fact that there's some Pacific Islander heritage. Too complex? Mondo is not too complex, first of all. Mondo is not. For Loa, he gave her just sort of a more round face and changed her tattoos. Now, is Kiwi Black more complex? He is. But then again, how complex are Captain America's boots these days compared to the way they used to be drawn? So, yeah, I think he made some interesting looking stuff. I do like the designs. You can't top a New Zealand accent. It's like the voice of angels. Angels. I don't know a New Zealand accent. Although my grandfather was born there. He was born in New Zealand. So someday I hope to go. Moving on. Al Ewing is the writer on a new book, and he has specifically laid down a gauntlet for himself that he wants his Thor run to outdo his Immortal Hulk run. I said Immortal Hulk was a great, great title. 50 fantastic issues. So Al wrote to Polygon and he said, by the way, the book will be called Immortal Thor. And he said, putting Immortal on a book I'm writing is a promise to the reader and to myself. I was the one who pitched the title, not editorial, not anyone else. It was basically a self-challenge. Can I do a book like that again? Can I do my end of it better this time? I have to try, because the alternative is just lie down and let the grass grow where I fell. Let's see. I loved his new take on the Hulk. I really did. I think he's a good writer. So fingers crossed. Overpowered Thor? I don't know how you could become much more overpowered. He's the king of Asgard these days. This might get me to read Thor. There we go. A lot of lack of various peoples of indigenous people in comics has always been a great problem. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the plan is for Alex Ross to draw all the covers. a little redundant, but obviously it's hearkening back to his acclaimed Immortal Hulk run. So I think that that's the gold standard to try to pass Mitchell. Walt Simonson's Thor run is fantastic, holds up just great. It's the standard I hold Thor to. Folks, I'm sorry. The Spider-Man ride is shutting down. So all of you over in Osaka, Japan, will soon not be able to ride it anymore. Yes. Just to be clear, Universal Studios Japan announced that it will close its Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man ride permanently on January 22nd, 2024. Theme Park Insider, by the way, has this listed currently as one of their top 5 attractions at any theme park worldwide. One of the top 5. Look, Universal has the rights to do the Marvel characters in perpetuity, apparently, down in Orlando, Florida. But they licensed them for a 20-year term to the Osaka location of Universal Studios. So that 20 years is up in January. Marvel just chose not to renew those rights. Obviously, now, they can do it at Disney, and that makes sense. But I do plan on going to Universal Studios Japan this September, so I might try to ride the Spider-Man ride. We'll see. You're a theme park outsider? If you pay the ticket price, maybe you can get in. I don't know. Looks like a giant hologram hand there. Right you are. That's basically what you do. You go, there's lots of like visuals and holograms and stuff. There can't be a Marvel park below the Mason-Dixon line, so those rules are old school. What are you talking about? There is a Marvel park below the Mason-Dixon line. Oh, hi. You caught me riding the Spider-Man ride. It's a favorite of yours? Very cool. Did you guys hear that, like, I guess Disney had created a Star Wars ride that cost $5,000 and you got to like sort of stay in this special area for 2 days, like sort of living in a cosplay world, like Galactic Star Cruiser, and it failed, so they're shutting it down. $5,000 for 2 days. What? Very strange to me. Very strange. I went on the 4D Shrek ride and all I got was a wet fart in the face. I assume that was from Shrek himself. It's a hotel. Got it. Yeah. $5,000. I'm like, I don't think there's that many rich people that have the time to do that. I don't think so. Star Wars Battlecruiser. It was just too much. It's just too expensive. Did the Ultraverse return, folks? Do you even remember the Ultraverse? Well, there we go. Marvel Unlimited. That's their digital comics app. They released a free book called "Who is Adam Warlock?" to explain Adam Warlock to moviegoers, since he's in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The whole point of it was just explaining the history of the Infinity Gems, which I made in a video myself. And in this little thing here, they said eventually the Infinity Gems were stolen by a bizarre vampire called Rune from a parallel dimension. That's true. Rune did take them over to the Ultraverse. Malibu created the Ultraverse when in the early 90s, every company was creating a new universe. Valiant, Image, Dark Horse, they all had different worlds. Marvel bought Malibu in 94, and then they ended it in 97. So this is, I believe, the first reference to the Ultraverse since then. That Star Wars ride will make a nice Spirit Halloween. I've seen that meme, but thank you for the super chat. That is good. That is good. There's probably some juicy stuff behind the scenes on why Marvel hasn't used the Ultraverse stuff. I've heard that there's some sort of an NDA agreement with one of the high-up executives at Ultraverse, but I have to imagine they do have the rights to that intellectual property. Is there a sorry, hold on. Is there a PowerPoint screen for the Ultraverse story? Yeah, right there. Anyway. Yeah. Prime was created by Gerard Jones, who we saw in some news a couple weeks ago has been released quietly from jail. Let's not talk about him too much this episode. He's not great. I thought Ultraverse was dead too, Tavia. I don't know. I haven't seen them mention it in any sort of official capacity in what, not quite, like something like 25 years. but they mentioned it in this comic, that, like, at least in passing. We'll see. They need to either bring back Ultraverse or sell it back to the original creators. They should stop IP squatting on it if they're not going to use them. Yeah, I've heard some different ideas. Like I heard once that Marvel bought Malibu just for access to their coloring. But I don't think that makes sense, honestly, because you could always just hire the colorists. They could afford to get the same computers. Like I don't think that there was anything proprietary that Malibu had on coloring. So I don't think that one ever really made sense. I heard that they also may have bought it because it got them the rights to Men in Black. That seems more likely, but I don't know. I don't know. Because if you see those Men in Black movies, they do say based on a Marvel comic, even though Marvel was not the original publisher. Daredevil is getting a new creative team. There's a cover here for the new run drawn by John Romita Jr., but the creators themselves, Marvel, announced that writers Saladin Ahmed and artist Aaron Cooter are going to be taking over the title September 13th. And there is a quote that Ahmed had on This Week in Marvel. That's a podcast. He said, "I wanted to only take this job on if I felt like I had a new, unique take on Matt and on Hell's Kitchen. And so that's at the center of this. Him and his world, but it's the Marvel Universe." Thank you, Michael. I do still need to get a new computer, and I will. Boy, Daredevil sure has a high bar to cross too, huh? Because that isn't just like one great run or two great runs. Daredevil has had a lot of great runs. We've talked about this before, but of course, the Frank Miller run, that's way up there. You've got guys like Brubaker, Wade. I don't know who else like had a great one. Bendis, lots of great runs. People love the current Zdarsky Chichetto run. A lot of good runs on Daredevil. A lot of good runs. Yes, Kevin, exactly. He's bringing Daredevil back to Hell's Kitchen. Gonna sort of reset, do the back to basics approach is what he said. And Nascenti, very unique thing. Oh man, tell me about it. Lee Weeks is such an underrated artist. He's great. He's great. See, but that doesn't make sense when you think about it, ChemDog. I've heard that rumor too, that Marvel bought it for their great coloring technology. But it's not like Malibu didn't own printers. They didn't own a proprietary coloring system. Marvel could have hired any of those colorists at any time. So I don't think that, even though people said that, I think they said it because Malibu was doing very different digital coloring at a time when everybody else was still doing the traditional way. They were first. But it doesn't make sense to me that they bought Malibu and somehow got coloring technology out of that. I don't think that that's true. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he is a lawyer. Sometimes he works for big clients. Yes, Malibu originally published the Image comics. Image was just sort of a studio name within Malibu, but within about a year, maybe a little less than a year, honestly, Image just sort of set up shop all on their own. All on their own. I'm good at Englishes. Spider-Man attacked a statue in London. Why? Well, he was arrested trying to deface this statue. This is a statue in front of the BBC in London. The statue is of Prospero and Ariel from Shakespeare's play The Tempest. And the reason it was attacked is because it was created by a sculptor named Eric Gill. Now, he died all the way back in 1940. But after he died, his diaries came out, and in them, he revealed that he molested his daughters. So, people obviously hate Eric Gill. He's a terrible person. The Spidey guy is believed to be a man named David Chick because he's worn this Spider-Man mask and done stunts like this before to destroy Eric Gill work and appear on TV and stuff like that. He posted, David Chick did, to his social media saying, "I thought someone else may have assisted by now, but don't worry, good old friendly neighborhood Spider-Man will sort it." So I think that ties them together. However, David Chick here is an Andrew Tate fan. So don't love him for that reason. But yeah, I can understand why someone would be mad at that statue being there. I don't know. So he just climbed up and he just did about $5,000 worth of damage to it. Yeah, good guy Spider-Man until you find out that he's a huge Andrew Tate fan. And yeah, that part makes him a bit of a tool. Not awesome. Not awesome. Nobody's perfect, I guess, huh? He wears the Spider-Man mask, but he isn't Peter Parker. I don't support this nonsense. The guy is dead. Yeah. The only reason that statue is even there, just to be clear, is Eric Gill also created the font created the logo, I should say, for the BBC. So that's why they have one of his statues in front of their building. I don't know, Here's a follow-up to a story that we had before. We talked about how the Hall of Heroes Museum in, I think it was Indiana, got robbed, right? A bunch of key issues, especially of Captain America, got stolen. Well, the thieves seem to have been caught, and they were caught because they were they did steal this guy. He is an endangered species tortoise. Joshua McCarty Thomas and his wife, Deshae McCarty Thomas, are accused of stealing endangered tortoises from a St. Augustine, Florida alligator farm. That's right. They're from Florida. Florida man. The police report attached to this news story said that they have dozens of stolen comic books that belong to the Hall of Heroes Museum. They're slabbed, so they were able to instantly recognize them. The owner found the comic books on eBay and bought them from the site to just get them back and record what's happened. Anyway, yeah, the stolen books were shipped from the couple's home that stole these turtles. Well, they're not turtles, they're tortoises, but I like to call them turtles because to me that means that this is as close as we're going to get to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles following foiling a criminal. Yeah, I really nailed the delivery on that one. Good. Detective Tortoise always solves the crime. I like to think Donatello helped. Detective Chicken. If we had dirt on everybody in the world, we'd have to demolish about 80% of the planet. Maybe. I've thought about that sometimes, and I'll be honest. I mean, maybe I'm setting myself up for failure, but I don't feel like I have any big dark secrets that could come out if I ever decided to run as a politician or something. I think that not everybody is terrible. I don't know. If you think about it, the TMNT didn't spend much time in the water. Well, I like to think that any time that the show ended, Raphael and Michelangelo and them were just sort of rolling around in sewer water. They were that was what they did for fun. St. Augustine is the oldest city in the U.S. I didn't know that. Is it really? Yeah, I'm glad they caught them too. It's always nice when some comic book thieves get caught. Yeah, sewer water. Randy, lovely to see you, buddy. You going to be launching another Kickstarter soon for more issues of Bullet Adventures? I have cut off pillow tags, and I'll own up to it. Feels weird. There are some in chat defending a known pedo, but it is what it is. Were there? I didn't see it. Of course, Sewer Waters. Splinter would approve. April might not. April definitely wouldn't. May 30th. All right. All right. Randy's going to have another Kickstarter. What? Probably issues 4 and 5 at this point? You're really moving along. You're putting out a lot of comics, buddy. I'm happy for you. We've still got more news. Let me get through this. Fire and Ice is coming to Dynamite. Yeah, last week, or maybe it was the week before, we talked about Fire and Ice coming to DC. the JLI superheroes. Anyway, Fire and Ice. Don't know how many of you know that movie, but it was a movie. Dynamite announced that in August, they're releasing a Fire and Ice prequel story. That's based on the film directed by Ralph Bakshi, designs by Frank Frazetta, written by Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway. Lots of comic book cred there. Lots of comic book cred. This is rotoscoped, so it's like it looks kind of unique, but the designs are badass. This book will be written by Bill Willingham, art by somebody named Leonardo Manco. I don't know him. There's a bunch of variant covers, including ones by Bill Sienkiewicz and the original Frank Frazetta poster for Fire and Ice. It's not a great movie, but it's an interesting movie for the creators involved. The story follows Tigra and her faithful pet panther, as well as the warrior Larn and the mysterious Dark Wolf. Both Sarah Frazetta and Eddie Bakshi have endorsed the book. Ralph Bakshi had some nice comments about it. I think that, it's cool. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it out and see what it is. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's really fun. That looks awesome. There you go. Yeah, DC and Dynamite could have a Fire and Ice crossover. Yeah, I don't like everything that Ralph Bakshi's done. Cool World was like the only movie I really wanted to walk out of. I really didn't care for that movie. Oh, he's a great Argentinian artist. Okay, he did great work for Slain. Cool. I'll have to look him up. Thank you very much for teaching me about that. That's awesome. Yo, Bill Willingham is great, man. If nothing else, like, God bless him for Fables. But yeah, he obviously can get fantasy. He's done superhero stuff. I think he's a great fit for somebody like Fire and Ice. You wish Bill did more art in comics. Are you talking about Bill Sienkiewicz or Bill Willingham? Anyway, he drew Hellblazer. I didn't see that one. Thomas Kincaid and James Gurney did backgrounds for the movie. How about that? There's a lot of amazing people in it. A lot of amazing people. I just thought I'd put it on people's radar. Could be cool. So, this page does not have spoilers. In a moment, I will talk about spoilers. I'll give you guys a heads up in case you want to like sort of peace out for a few minutes or even just take off. After I do this, I'm going to do the reviews of like the comics that came in this week. But this was a weird story. We've been talking on this very show for a couple weeks about the Marvel press building up to Amazing Spider-Man issue 26. We saw that Zeb Wells was told by his editor, Nick Lowe, to avoid conventions because fans would kill him for this. We were told that it was going to be something like epic along the lines of the death of Gwen Stacy because it was happening on her anniversary. Anyway, Marvel was building it up to be a big deal. Whether it succeeded or failed, they were building it up as such. Well, this photo, like uncensored, was leaked to Reddit revealing who dies. Okay? There's a lot of speculation that somebody at Marvel did it, like was mad at Marvel and like they leaked it, but that hasn't been proven or anything yet. Editor Nick Lowe immediately was on Twitter warning readers about spoilers being out there and to avoid them. Then Marvel's official account did the exact same thing, like warned people, hey, there are spoilers out there. Look out. You don't want to be spoiled. And then just hours later, Marvel just revealed it all on an editorial type thing on Entertainment Weekly. It was so weird. It was so weird. So I'm not talking yet about who died, okay? I'll explain that since Marvel did put it out there. It's no longer really anything, but some of you may be reading this book and you don't want to get spoiled. I don't think it's that big a deal personally, but if you do, I'll give you time to leave. In fact, why don't you leave right now? Come back like in 5 minutes, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and show this image uncensored since Marvel put it out and talk about it. So that's your warning. You've got time now, and here I go. So it was not Mary Jane. It was not Gwen Stacy. She's been dead for a long time. It was not, as I suspected, Norman Osborn. No, apparently it's Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. It makes a certain amount of sense. Kamala has been a supporting character in the Amazing Spider-Man run. She works at Oscorp alongside Peter. So she has been a supporting character in this. That said, to kill her in another character's title when it's such an important character doesn't really make sense to me. Entertainment Weekly, like that afternoon, revealed that on July 12th, there's going to be a book called Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel. It's going to have stories by G. Willow Wilson, who's her co-creator, Saladin Ahmed, Mark Waid, artists Umberto Ramos, Takeshi Miyazawa, Andrea DeVito. By the way, Zeb Wells is writing this book. He also is one of the writers on the Marvels movie that uses Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. I'm not surprised. It's not a surprising twist because here's what Marvel has been doing ever since the MCU became prominent. They kill off the character and they bring them back right before the movie drops to create some buzz. They've done it with Captain America, Iron Man, Doctor Strange most recently. They always do it. They always do it now. It's what they do. They kill the character off and then they bring them back for the movie. And that's what I think they'll do. I think in like around November, I'll put money on it, I think Kamala Khan will come back. I think that there's a chance that they could even change her powers or something like that to make her line up closer to the movie version. I don't know. There's no way. Look, in the comics, we know that like the X-Men have technology to resurrect people now. It would not be hard for them to resurrect her. I'm sure that will eventually get like wiped out during the fall of X, but I think right before that, this is just my speculation. I think they're going to bring her back. And look, there's a bunch of fans that are really upset that they would kill off one of their most prominent Muslim superheroes. And you know what? I don't blame them in this particular case. They're clearly not getting rid of the character. She's very popular. So of course she's coming back. But if you're even going to kill her off, you can't do it in her own title. You're doing it in Spider-Man's title. I get why Zeb Wells thinks people would get mad at him. I think it's a stunt. I don't think it's great. I absolutely think that that's a possibility, Rocket Reindeer. I absolutely do. I wouldn't get too upset because I do think she's going to come back and really soon. Okay. But it's a little disrespectful to do this as such a sort of obvious stunt. And I'm not like super worked up because I've seen this happen before in comics. I accept that death and rebirth is a piece of any major comic book character. They all get resets. A new creative team comes in, they get a reset. If you don't have a new creative team or anything else going on, you kill off the character and bring him back. That's the only thing that bothers me is that you can still kill off the character and do something interesting with it, or at least have it last for a while. Characters like Cyclops and Colossus have been dead for very long stretches of time. Jean Grey, like she was dead for a long time. Oh yeah. I have to imagine that this was like an idea. They were like, hey, How can we kill off Kamala just to bring her back just in time for the movie so that there's a little extra buzz in the newspapers and with the fans and stuff? I don't know. But that is everything I have for news. So, and I just wanted to be fair to anybody that wanted to step away. Hopefully I did that. Yeah, I think I timed that right. So let's not talk about any spoiler stuff anymore. Instead, what I'd like to do is talk for a moment about the comics that came out this week. Let me zoom in there, turn on a light. Yeah, that looks good. Let's do some recommendations of like what's worth reading right now, okay? I don't know if you've heard about the giant Kokju. It is a sort of Godzilla-esque monster, but it is definitely a hard R-rated version. This is only issue 2, art by Scott Koblish, written by Jerry Duggan. He can be one of the funniest guys in the world. Jerry Duggan's hilarious. And so, boy, I don't even know if I can show every panel in this. Basically, the monster's going around banging buildings and, you know, pooping and vomiting. And yeah, there's some of this stuff, like, I guess you can show, but it isn't great. But it's funny, okay? There's like this lady that's like, runs up and she's like, you have to help me. Get in. I'm driving us out of the city. Okay, great. But I actually need you to drive me back to the restaurant I was in. I left my phone in the panic. It's just a bunch of shallow people dealing with a gigantic monster. I really can't show much of this, but it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. Speaking of stuff that's obviously trying to be edgy, we've got Ed Piskor's Red Room back with Crypto Killers. I'm starting to get a little burned out on it, Ed. If you're watching, you're not. I think he's done everything he needs to do with this. And I don't know if he's getting creative fulfillment out of this. I know it's selling well, so, you know, more power to you. That's good. Thank you for the super chat, Joshua. Favorite amazing Spidey run, non-Stanley. Okay. Oh, that's tough. I'll say the J.M. De Mateus, Mike Zeck, Craven's Last Hunt run. I like it okay, by the way. I like it okay, but it does feel a little like I'm seeing the same thing every week. People torturing people that don't have a chance to escape. Like, you know, I want to see some comeuppance at this point on the bad guys. I don't even want to, like, you know, like flip through this too much because it could be too violent for some people. You know, you're here for like news and reviews, not for me to, like, you know, go in depth. I'd rather, like, if I was going to talk about this, announce it. By the way, when it says banned in 26 countries, I'm pretty sure that's made up, but if that's still pretty funny. That's interesting to hear. I think this is the last of Red Room. He's hinting at a new project. I hope so, because I think that Ed is a super creative person. I just sort of feel like he's done what he needs to do with this at this point. A lot of people listing great writers on Spider-Man there since I got asked the question. But I see J. Michael Straczynski mentioned. Roger Stern, I think, did a great job. Howard Mackey. Okay. You were surprised I picked it up? Well, I do respect Ed a lot. So, and I'm always going to be curious about what he puts out. I'm always going to be curious, even if I don't love it. I'm always going to be curious. Yeah, Peter David definitely had a good run on Spider-Man. Death of Gene DeWolf. This is just such an interesting sort of romance book. And I was just getting to the point where I really loved seeing She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts start getting into like a nice serious relationship. But nothing, Rainbow Rowell isn't going to make it go that smooth. There's this thief that, like, she keeps running into. He's a villain, right? But he's charming, and he hits on She-Hulk a bunch. And you can see that she's a little interested, even though, like, he's a bad guy. So, like, they're throwing this wrench. No, I want her to be with Jack. Jack is so nice and good for her and everything. Don't fall for the rogue, Jen. It's amazing that this is a superhero comic. It does feel like a superhero comic, but it's such a throwback to old romance comics. Well, they didn't. Yeah, Jack of Hearts, obviously more of like a C-level hero, but has been brought back in this book, and it sort of like plays up the fact that he's lesser known, and does a lot of really interesting stuff with it. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. I picked this up because new Avengers run. Jason Aaron wrote Avengers for a very, very long time. Well, now they've put Jed MacKay and CF Villa on it. They did a bunch of Moon Knight stuff that was acclaimed. So we've got a new team. And honestly, like, I could flip through the pages, but it's you can kind of get the gist of things right here. So it starts off with Captain Marvel having been voted by fellow Avengers to be the current chairman, the leader of the team. And so she gets to recruit the team that she wants. And she starts with Iron Man, Tony Stark, because she's like, we've butted heads, but we have different points of view that can be valuable. Plus, you know, you're Iron Man. She goes for this Sam Wilson, Captain America, because she argues he's not like a god or a robot or a king or something like that. You know, like, yes, he's a superhero, but he also works as like a social worker in his day-to-day life. And like, I like that idea from Jed MacKay that, like, yeah, he would be the everyman that helps keep them in touch and a little more down to earth. She gets Thor because they need a powerhouse, but there's some conflict there because Thor's all sad about losing his dad recently. And then she gets Vision and Scarlet Witch and Black Panther. Black Panther is, I guess, been ousted as the king right now, so he needs something to do. Anyway, it's an interesting team that could have some conflict and some good interpersonal stuff, I suppose. I think that there needs to be maybe like, I think that the book works well when there's somebody that's a little bit of comic relief, to be honest. And I don't know who that really would be. The artwork, of course, is gorgeous. More than serviceable. Very, very good. Very, very good. I don't know if I'll stick with this. I don't think it like interests me that much, but it's a good team. And it ends tying in like Kang. Marvel had set some stuff up that Kang is searching for this missing moment in time in the Marvel universe. So it'll probably tie into some of that stuff. But there's definitely some good character work that could be done with this. The artwork is gorgeous. I'm sure that, like, for just, you know, standard superhero stuff, you could do a lot worse than this. I'm just not sure I'm that invested personally. We'll see. So I said Scott Collins drew the Mighty Kokju cover. Look at this. This is the first of 2 covers that will have every character to have gone through the Fantastic Four, and it's drawn by the covers by Scott Collins. There's just so many characters here. It's bonkers. It's wild. It's really fun though. Just so many characters that have like come through Fantastic Four. Cosmic beings, superheroes, supervillains, and just like, you know, the people that they meet along the way. There's just but anyway, the interior is by the current creative team of Ryan North and Ibn Coelho. And Ryan North, I need to discover more on, because what a great back to basics approach this has. This issue involves the team sort of setting up a house out in the countryside, and they're attacked by their biggest enemy, Dr. Doom. Now, all you really need to know for this is that Reed Richards did this thing where he to save his children and a bunch of people that were in the Baxter building, their old headquarters, he sent it forward in time exactly 1 year. It sort of avoided some aliens destroying it, etc. Dr. Doom is like, I'm going to prove I'm better than you by getting it out of time sooner. I'm going to, and Reed is like, no, you can't. And Dr. Doom just has this huge time travel adventure. Remember, Dr. Doom has a time machine. That was established right at the beginning. but no matter what, he cannot seem to make things better. And he has to like sort of reckon with the fact that like he might be his own worst enemy. It's some great introspective stuff regarding Doctor Doom. A great Doctor Doom story. Sincerely. Works well as a standalone issue. Works well within the series. It's only issue 7 of the series, but this represents the 700th overall Fantastic Four issue. I do recommend Fantastic Four right now. I think it's a heck of a great read. Really, really good. Really, really good. Picked up the latest issue of No One. And this one is the variant cover by Danny Earls, who I guess used to be a footballer over in the UK, something like that. And now he's a comic book artist. This is a procedural about both a murderer, an anonymous murderer, and a superhero vigilante. Not superheroes overstating it, no powers, but a vigilante called No One, who and it's a huge mystery. Is all I need to tell you. If I tried to explain it, we'd be here for quite a while. What does this one do differently? It brings one of the main characters, a reporter, into direct contact with No One, who's been very on the edges, the peripheral of this story. Arguably, the coolest part about No One is at the end of each issue, there's this QR code, which takes you to this super well-produced podcast that has the characters from the book, like two of the reporters, talking about the overall mystery that they're doing. So there's like extra content here, and it's produced so well. It sounds like some of the best true crime podcasts out there, but none of the guilt because there's nobody real in this. They break down all the main characters at the back of the book. I think that helps. And they've got credits for the people like Rachel Lee Cook and Patton Oswalt play the two main characters on the podcast. I'm bad at names. The most recent Star Trek show, Picard season 3, it had a new captain in it. Somebody remind me who that actor was. Stanwyck, something like that. What is inventive? I thought you said insensitive. The podcast part of it is fantastic. It's so good. But I'm thinking of an actor, and I guess I'll just look it up actually because I don't know who I'm thinking of. It's Todd Stashwick, is that it? Yep, Todd Stashwick. Okay, and it was just coming through now. Thank you very much. Todd Stashwick just had a great turn on Picard season 3. Great character. He's a good actor. They got him to play this high up police investigator that his son was arrested as the killer. One of his sons was arrested as the killer. Was he actually? We don't know yet for sure. Everybody seems to think he is. But yeah, they got Todd Stashwick to play this police chief guy. I have seen a little bit of Kyle Higgins short films. I've been lucky enough to get to know Kyle a little bit. And he definitely has a lot of aptitude for this. I don't know if folks help me out. Has no one released any video content yet? Or is that just something that I maybe shouldn't even be mentioning yet? I don't think he has. There's something amazing coming video-wise for No One. Really impressive. Really impressive. If you ever saw the filmed live-action trailer for Power Rangers, it was to promote his comic book when he was doing it at Boom Studios. And the actor that plays Tommy, the Green Ranger, was playing Lord Dokken, like sort of an evil version from another dimension of that character. Like they did that as a live action ad. Kyle created and directed that and paid for it out of his own money. Kyle invests a lot of his own money back into the comics in terms of like producing additional content. He did a whole animation recently for Radiant Black. Just his comics always give you a bunch of extra stuff. It's pretty cool. Ah, good. That is out there. Okay. Yes. There's a shot of no one running parkour style. Like it's from his point of view, like he's got a camera on and he's like running across rooftops doing like all sorts of cool stuff before the police helicopters and stuff surround him on the roof. I didn't know that was out there. It's really, really cool. So yeah, no one gives you access to some extra content, even though the story itself is really good. It's not something I think you just look up, but as long as you can scan the QR code, then you can listen to it. So it's not like you don't necessarily have to pay for the comic if you could just scan the QR code. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend listening to the podcast without reading the book. Only 2 more things that I picked up this week. Glad to hear that you're liking it too, Fire Guy. World's Finest. Hey, somebody in the chat earlier said Dan Mora deserved to be nominated as Best Artist this year in the Eisners. I agree. He's really, really good. We've basically got in this issue standard superhero stuff of Batman, Superman, and Robin fighting Ultramorpho, which is basically a robot version of Metamorpho that can turn into any element, including kryptonite. That would be bad. It's bringing a mystery forward. That said, look at this. Batman teams up with the Metal Men. Yeah, when I mentioned Tin this week on my show, bet you didn't expect to see him in my next live show. But yeah, there's Batman wearing armor made up of the Metal Men. And I'll stop it there because like that's just at the beginning. Pretty fun adventure stuff, and it looks gorgeous. Dan Wade and Dan Mora. Mark Wade and Dan Mora. Close enough. Very, very good. And the last one I want to point out is I really like this book, Dark Ride. Basically a horror comic, also a mystery. Joshua Williamson, writer, and Andre Bresson, artist. Takes place at a haunted theme park. And people just trying to get to the bottom of the mystery of exactly what's going on with this theme park. But it's very creepy. It's very cool. I recommend it. I don't want to give too much away. Isn't it a fun one, Rob? World's Finest is fun. So this is the kind of stuff where I'm like, look, am I about every superhero comic? You know, like Avengers is perfectly good, right? I wasn't super into it personally, but it's good. But the stuff that I am into is like World's Finest and She-Hulk and Fantastic Four. There's definitely still good stuff that you can do with superheroes. I have zero to say against superhero comics, even though I read all sorts of comics. Yeah. Oh, I've also been reading a bunch of manga. I guess I didn't bring down here, but I'm flying through Slam Dunk. I'm up to volume 25 of 31, I think. So I'm really far into that. I got the latest volume of My Hero Academia, which I didn't love. It was fine. I got the latest volume of Tokyo Revengers, which is a pretty cool book. And I'm reading some more old JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Yeah, I'm still reading Nightclub. It's okay. I would say it's the thing I like most out of Mark Miller right now. People had asked earlier about, like my health and everything. It looks like, everything is kind of tied to my diabetes, but I've been like super diligent lately about eating well. I don't know if you can see it quite yet, but I think I'm starting to lose some more weight. And hopefully eventually that helps my shoulder. It's painful. It's super painful. And I'll tell you, here's one of the most frustrating things. Sometimes, I've got a part-time job, right? And have like these 8-hour shifts selling cars. I have to move my car to like drive cars and like, get to like badge out. I can barely mime it because it's so hard. my work was like, "Hey, we're willing to accommodate your schedule and like give you less hours for until you can sort of recover." Thank you. That's really nice of them. All they needed, it was for my doctor to fill out a form. I sent it to him, and the doctor's like, I think you should send it to your orthopedic doctor. I don't think I'm the one that should fill it out." Okay. I go to the orthopedic doctor, and he's like, "No, we don't do that at all. Like, you have to go to your primary care physician." So I went back to him and I'm like, "Look, are you willing to fill this out or not? Because like my work is willing to give me a reduced schedule to help with the inflammation. But if you're not willing to do it, I got to let them know so that like, and just chalk it up to tough luck me." The guy, all I need is like a simple form like that says like, what was the date that Chris first came in? Like, what did you diagnose him with? What's he taking? Uh, it's so easy, and it's just so frustrating, like how lazy it makes me feel that these doctors are. They just, I get a shot, a, a like corticosteroid shot in my arm, but I can't get that until the 30th because of how backed up they are to just get a shot. Yeah, but you know what? It's so hard to get to figure out who your primary care physician should be and stuff. I got this recommendation from my last doctor who I actually really liked, but she decided to go back to school to, further her doctor education. So I have blood sugar issues too. My sugars become balanced with a change in eating. So far, so good. I'm eating really, really healthy these days and keeping busy. Um, if they can't do something as basic as a note, I'd be looking for another doctor. I'm thinking about it, man. I'm thinking about it. Hardcore because I'm mad. I'm legit mad. I'm in so much pain all the time. I can barely sleep, like usually only for about 2 hours at a time before I wake up in agony and have to try to move to a different position, which doesn't feel good, but at least doesn't feel as bad. I'm in pain all throughout the day. Um, I tried something different, or maybe I didn't. What's with the ticks tonight? What's that mean? The ticks. Am I ticking somehow? Like, what is it? My eyes or my mouth? I don't see myself really. I didn't know that I was having ticks. My sister's allowed to accuse me of that stuff. Uh, I even lost my train of thought. I may or may not have tried an edible. I'm shaking my head. It's probably just an inadvertent thing. Like I'm so mad at them. I'm just want to say no to them. I just want to say no to the whole situation. Anyway, uh, the edible may have helped a little bit. I think I took it shortly before bed, and I think I was able to get better night's sleep that night. So I might have to do that again. If I did, that would be the way I would have gone. It's all legal stuff here. It's all legal. Try going to a reputable naturopath. One of them helped me way past the regular docs. I wouldn't even have a way to pay them, though, I don't think. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I understand that I can't get prescribed opioids, but they gave me a couple initially, and I'll tell you something, those did help. Those did help, but I understand why they can't, because they say that this might take up to 2 years to go away. But this isn't comic book related, so I can let you all go. That was a fun one, man. Some crazy news this week. Yeah, look up Thomas Woodruff online. His students do not love him. Marvel's decision to just sort of like confirm and reveal their spoiler for Amazing Spider-Man just confuses the heck out of me. But there's some fun comics coming up in the future to look forward to. So that's cool. That's cool. Hopefully you got a chance to check out my show, Comic Tropes. I put up a new episode this past Sunday about Tintin. I put a lot of hard work into that one. I'm proud of it. It seems to be getting a really good response. Hopefully you guys get a chance to check it out. If you haven't, consider hitting like and subscribe. That always helps. And I'm going to take off, get some dinner. Thank you all for watching. Tell you what, I'm going to do it. Oh, geez. I can't quite bend the arm the same way, but there, double salute. Oh, all right, all right. So some of my family here talking about good stuff for this. All right, best stream ever. I'm going to leave it on that. These are great. Double salute, everybody. You are all awesome. Love you much. Take care. See you next week.